Thank you for having me here today. Education has been my life's work, and it's the best job in the world, in my opinion, because every day and with every child you get to start over. And you can heal wounds, and you can inspire, and you can build relationship, and hopefully you can unlock the potential in every child. We don't always succeed at that, but we sure give it our best shot. And we have a lot of community partners, especially from our retired community, who come in to work with our kids in a variety of ways in our schools, for which I'm exceedingly grateful. We could not do it without our volunteers. School funding has been, ever since I think I was still a teacher in Corvallis, when they changed the way we fund schools in Oregon. And Oregon hasn't recovered. We're 38th, I believe, in the nation in school funding. And we're 37th or 38th in graduation rate in the nation. It has required larger class sizes, fewer teachers. When I came here in 2009, I came mid-year, and I was here, they had just gone through huge staffing cuts. And the superintendent at the time called me in and said, Ethel, I have some news for you. I've been here a week. He said, we're having to cut your secretary. Oh. So it's like, okay, so now I'll learn by doing, because she was kind of the bridge person. So, we've had our challenges. Despite that, we have dedicated community, dedicated staff, and we're kind of fighting our way back in Sayusla. Our graduation rate used to be very different. The state has increased requirements on students. When I went to school, you could actually graduate with general math if that was, if you weren't going on beyond that. 4 years, 3 years of math, 1 of personal finance, right? I'm looking at my husband because we went to high school together. We did have the advanced classes, but graduation requirements now are 2 classes beyond Algebra 1. So every student is expected to get to the advanced algebra with trigonometry stage, no matter what their skill, no matter what learning challenges they might have. That's just one little piece, and it's good to have high standards, but our kids sometimes really struggle to reach them. We have a lot more kids that need to take a 5th year, which we can do. We can legally keep them for a 5th year if they haven't graduated. And many of our students, we have 84% of our kids are 5th year completers. 84% of those who didn't graduate, I guess I should say. So it's one of the higher groups in the state. So when you hear about our graduation rate, just know there's another little piece of that, because we can't keep working with kids and get them through. Our kiddos are very diverse. We have kids that come from very solid families in terms of financial security. We also have a large group of students, 62 to 65%, it varies throughout the year, that are free and reduced lunch students, which means that their family has a poverty level that's significant. So we have kids that are food insecure. I noticed backpack for kids on here. We have lots of ways we try to feed them. This summer we're going to do our summer lunch program by taking part of it. We hope we'll have a band that goes around the community, kind of like the ice cream man. And so we can reach out to more kids in the community who might not be able to get over to the school to have it. Our new food service director thought of that, and I thought, yeah, why not try it? It's going to be great. So many of our kids, especially those involved in after school, eat all 3 meals a day at school, and then take home weekend food through backpack and also through Indian education. Having said all that, we're always looking for ways to re-engage our kiddos. When we get to high school, our high school was built at a time when the building codes had not shifted over to modern public building codes. We were not paying any attention to seismic at that point in time, because it was all focused on California rather than our own fault up here. So seismic codes had changed tremendously. Our building was built kind of on a California model, and that's I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it just doesn't rain like it does here. So with flat roofs, you know, whoever thought that was a good idea at the coast. and walkways, and not a kitchen. No kitchen, no cafeteria in our high school. So our kiddos, you know, either if they have someone who helps them pack a lunch at home, or they do it themselves, they're okay. Or if they have a car and can drive off campus, they're okay, although often we lose a few at lunchtime. Because if you're in high school and it's a nice day and you've gone out to buy lunch, you might make a different choice. So we have kiddos now waiting in line. Now we have our own food service program. They can't prepare meals for the high school at the high school. So food suffers a little bit in quality in the transport. And the kids line up out by, I don't know how many of you have been to the high school, but there's a big open courtyard, open to the weather, and a snack bar that we use as a concession during games. And that's where we serve the lunch from. So the line goes from there, down a hall, through a door, and but at least we're getting lunch to more kids. More high school kids are eating lunch and staying. So that's one of the flaws of our school. It is not seismically safe. It is at high risk of collapse in even a moderate earthquake event. And it is unsafe because it has 16 entry points. 16. That surprised me too when we were doing our facility studies. Yeah, 16. So it's very hard. You walk into the building and it looks beautiful. That's what's hard for people. It's been well maintained and it looks great. And I'm proud of how our staff has maintained it. You walk into the building and the office is clear. Oh, out to the cars in the parking, maybe not quite that far. Yeah. From the door, from the two main doors where you can access the building. Our other two buildings have secure entries. We retrofitted the elementary school last. So the high school has 16. It's really hard to retrofit all of those, but you have to have fire exits. Anyway, it's a concern in this day and age, and I wish we didn't have to think about it, but we do. We are now doing armed intruder drills in our high school through the ALICE protocol, which has become nationwide the thing to do. And I'm proud that we kind of jumped on the bandwagon a little bit early. It's empowering for kids and teachers, but it is scary to even have to think about it. Other issues with our high school include the fact that it was built right on the cusp of the change of building codes, so that it's very hard to retrofit. We don't have any ADA doors that open. We have 3 wheelchair students at our high school. So if they're strong enough to be able to open the door, and we have one boy who has, boy is he ever, an amazing spirit. But we have also one student who is not able to, so he has to have someone with him to navigate him through the building. I had back surgery, and I used the lift when I first came back to work, because I came back a little early. And so we have one of those lifts that goes up the side of the stairway, and you have to like belt yourself into the lift. That is the scariest thing I've ever done.
It takes 10 minutes.
And it takes 10 minutes. So those are just a few of the things, not to mention our heating and cooling system is dying. Our pneumatic controls are no longer even made. So whenever a classroom system of the HVAC goes out at this point, we have to buy what's called a ductless split. I have it right. So it's a single room heater and cooler, but it doesn't vent to the outside, so no fresh air comes in like HVAC. We have windowless classrooms in the upstairs of our high school because they were not built to be classrooms. They were built to be a big open area over the library, sorry. it is becoming more and more difficult to maintain our systems. The plumbing, our water, the plumbing is starting to get to the point where there's very little water pressure sometimes. And everything is encased in concrete underneath the floor of the building, including our propane line, which we finally had to give up on fixing. So the Bunsen burners are now butane in our classrooms. And speaking of Bunsen burners, our lab space is inadequate for 21st century schools. We have teachers who've given up their teaching stations so they can have one more lab table in their classroom because they were designed for classes of 20 and under, and now we have 25 to 27 in those classrooms. School funding works this way. You have general fund, and it pays for about 85% of the cost of the district in teacher salaries, teacher and assistant salaries. A lot of that we don't have a great deal of control over. We have our retirement system. You're going to have to get the cane for me, aren't you? Just tell me when my time's up. General fund dollars can't pay for building a new high school, even if we could save up enough of them. We have to bond. And at this point, the advice that came through our very broad-based community group that was doing long-range facilities planning was that we build new. It costs 70 to 100% of the cost of new to retrofit. Plus, kids would be dislocated for 2 years. We would have to set up portable classrooms, which the estimates have been between $500,000 to $1 million. To do that, you have to pour pad, you have to bring in plumbing. I've learned more about buildings than I ever wanted to know. So it was a hard choice, and we were kind of saying, okay, someday we'll build new. We'll start working in the community, seeing if we can gain support. And then we got the unlikely, amazing benefit of getting a $4 million grant from the state of Oregon. This year is the first time they've ever invested in capital projects. So districts all around the state are bonding. We would not have been eligible because out of 197 districts, we were 158th on the list because we have property value here. And we have, even though our free and reduced lunch rate is high, it's not 85% like some of the districts that were guaranteed the money up front before they even started the process, if they passed a bond in May. We thought we had no chance, but we said it would be irresponsible not to throw our hat in the ring and see if we could get a free $4 million. And we got it. So then we looked at each other and said, oh my gosh, we can't do this process in 3 months. So this base, my wonderful husband who's with me at every one of these things, I've been on a speaking tour to try to educate our community. And we've also had listening sessions, and we'll be having another free tour of the high school. I've got the free, like we would charge, a tour. And I left the material in the back if you would like to look at it and get some more information. We have made it as inclusive as we could do. We had our facilities improvement team meet several times, and very broad base with parents, and they were open meetings as well. One thing I've found is that when you have an open meeting, you don't get as many people generally to come as when you get to talk to a group. So this week I have 2 more speaking engagements. At any rate, the bond would cost, it's an ask. It would be a fill bond. Our middle school bond is sunsetting in 2.5 years. This bond would add another 29 cents to that, which would bring the bond to $1.30 per thousand of assessed value, not of market value. And it would be a 25-year bond. We did it that way so that we didn't hit our taxpayers with huge increases up front. And that was on the advice of a financial firm out of Portland, Piper Jaffray, who does most of the bonding work in the state of Oregon. There's a lot of free stuff you can get because we haven't invested money in an architect. We have a conceptual design, one, that preserves our gym, preserves our auxiliary gym, and preserves our career technical education wing, our shop, which is really fine, one of the best ever that I've seen around. And we hope we're going to be able to make that work. It would be huge savings. The other thing about bonding is you don't sell all the bonds up first. So if we, by economies of scale, are able to cut back what that bond is, it's our commitment to do that. We have technology and safety needs at all 3 schools, so they're included on it. But it's not, we need to upgrade technology big time. And once the high school maintenance, which is higher every year, is not coming out of our general fund, we will be able to increase staffing, we hope, but we can't use bond money for that. That would just be a nice unintended consequence, that we could maybe get some good technology going. Actually, it needs to be K-12 now. We're already dreaming about a maker space in the library, which is a place where kids can work on coding, where they can design parts for Lego robotics. And by the way, our team was at the regional competition yesterday. I haven't heard how they did, but they were doing underwater vehicles that they designed and built and engineered the parts, and it's a part of our STEM program. So there are good things happening in our schools, and we want a school that's welcoming and engaging and has a cafeteria and a working auditorium so we can put on plays there and we can do music concerts there. We're hoping to build that. That's the dream. And I promise to stay around and help with the work. I'm retiring this year. And it's, if you count my first teaching experience outside of Oregon, it's been 44 years. and my husband's been retired ever since we moved down here, so he's kind of waiting.
Get tired of housework.
Come to my house.
He takes really good care of me, and it's a hard decision to leave the district. I don't know who I am outside of teaching. It's been so long, but it is the best work in the world. And I appreciate you inviting me today. This has been such a life-giving experience just to be here in this fellowship, I have to say. And I'm not going to get all teary-eyed, so I'm looking at you. You can frown at me now. But it truly has, and I appreciate it. And I'll be around to answer questions later if you have them. And if you have more questions after that, you can call the district office. The number's on the information there, and set up a time to talk with me one-on-one. I've been doing a lot of that as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.